Great. Welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us today. And we have this webinar regarding the resume writing, how you can prepare resume, what are the tips and guidelines for preparing your resume, because resume is also an essential part of your application while you apply to graduate school, to doctorate schools. So we have Saif Bhai and Vasikul Bhai who will speak about how you can prepare your resume, where you can find the resources. And let's start the presentation. I would like to hand over to Saif Bhai. Please give your introduction and start the presentation.
Okay, thank you, Rajat, and good morning, good evening, and assalamu alaikum to everyone. And as you can imagine that we moved from Sir Syed Emerging Scholar Award to Sir Syed Global Scholar Award because you could see we are located globally. And some people here are in the West Coast, East Coast, and Midwest, and in India. So it matches perfectly well. So a little bit about myself. I know that I sent like a small bio before. I'm not sure that whether it was shared, but I have been involved with SESA since its inception for the last 10 years. And so far we have about 80 students who had been successful in getting admission in US, Europe, and elsewhere. So today's main topic. Today's topic is main important is about resume, because that's really the key. That's really the key for success. In addition to your grades, your statement of purpose, your recommendation letters, and so on. So let me just go over with a few tips for good resume or CV writing. So the agenda will be as following. The first, I will go step by step what should be included in the resume and things to avoid. Then Vasikul will go over with additional information, and then Rajat and Ali Muzaffar can also add based on their experience, and later we will open the forum for question and answers. So a typical resume ideally should be of one page. Sometimes, as you can see here, it doesn't have all the details that I will be talking about, but sometimes students say that they have a lot of things to put on the resume. The trick is how you can summarize your qualification on one page. In case if it is impossible to put all your information on one page because you have lots of research experience, etc., and you want to put that information, it should never exceed more than 2 pages. So the first thing is that your resume should be very simple, with your name, one physical address, one phone number, and one email address. I have emphasized on one for a reason, because sometimes I have seen students giving 2 addresses, their home address and office address, or department or university address. Of course, admission office will not be sending information to address. So whatever is most appropriate, that's the one that you should add. Another important thing is to ensure that your email address is plain and simple, and it is related to your name. Sometimes students use celebrities' names, and then they use some weird email addresses, and I have seen sometimes somebody who write crazycool@gmail.com. So if you have a weird email addresses, please get one which is simply for applying to the graduate school. Do not miss out on physical addresses. Sometimes I've seen people don't even put physical address because they think that nowadays the correspondence is only through the email, but many times the admission office sends you a letter, so make sure that you should put your physical address. Okay, so now let's move on to the next section, which is education. We can keep it on the same slide. Thank you, Rajat. So the next main section is the educational qualification. If you are a science, arts, or a commerce student and you're applying for a PhD, you may just put your bachelor's and master's degree. You don't need to put your 10th and 12th standard information. Similarly, if you are an engineering or a medical student and applying for a master's program, just mention your BTech or MBBS information, and you may add 12th standard information here. In other words, what I want to say that there is no need to put more than 2 previous educational qualifications. And it is also important to state the school or a college or a university and the grade and percentage, and of course you will write also the year that you graduated. Sometimes it is not equivalent as the US university's grade point average. So in addition to what you really received, such as percentage or grade, sometimes people they get CPI and so on in engineering school, and you write 9, you got it out of 10. It will be good to mention if you stood first, second, fifth, 10th in your class, to put it okay, position 1 out of 100 students, or it could be out of 50 students, or 100 students, and so on. So what happens that it tells the admission committee that you are among the top 1% or top 5% or so on. So this is really important, because here if you have put an 80%, then sometimes you could be the topper in your class, but it is considered to be a C grade. So many times you may lose the board, or you may lose your chances just in the screening process, that you got 80%. I mean, even though you would have been a topper. So just I wanted to emphasize here that this is important, and when you send your resume to us, we do look into those things, but this is important to consider. Now, next section is your experience. I mean, it could be your research experience or your teaching experience, so on. Teaching experience plays an important role if you're looking for financial assistance as a teaching assistant or a TA. So if you have, in your undergraduate program, and then you were like a teaching assistant, or you're helping out the students, or even tutoring some of the students, your peers, and so on, please don't hesitate to mention those things, because it does play an important role. Similarly, if you have a research or a work experience, a professor may become interested in you because you already have the skill set to do work in his or her lab. If you have done research in the past, please make sure that you put few important techniques or instrumentations that you have used. In addition, do not shy off to mention if you published your data in a peer-reviewed journal or you presented that in a meeting. I would also say that don't put the ordinary skill sets, such as your knowledge about Microsoft Office, a PowerPoint, or an Excel, or in Word, or how to browse on the internet and so on, because those are the things, they are absolutely not necessary, and it just takes up your space in your resume without adding anything. Even students in the elementary or middle school, they know Microsoft Office skills. So now the next section is your accomplishment. I mean, your extracurricular activities, your awards, your honors, I mean, what you got. So these things are also important, and however, it is critical that you put only those things which will have an impact. If you were, I mean, I'm just giving some examples. If you were an editor of a newsletter, so put like quantitative information. It is always helpful to put quantitative information rather than just generalizing it. So if you were a newsletter editor, you could just say that, yeah, you released like 20 newsletters, which was distributed to 500 people or students or staff, or maybe 1,000 copies were distributed. And if you won a prize in sports, it may be good to mention that how many participants were there. In addition, many people, they qualify certain scholarship tests and they get like merit awards. So you should like mention those that you were among the top two students, and there were maybe 50,000 students. They took the test, and out of that, only 100 scholarships were given, and you are among the one among those qualifying students. So it really adds value if you put things in quantitative way. So maybe we could just go to the next slide, Rajat. Thank you. So here are some of the things that I want to mention, that what you should also put and what you should not. So sometimes people write that the references are available on request. Most times the university asks this information separately in the application itself. So you are sending those recommendation letters to them directly. So just filling up the space and saying that reference available on request, which I have seen in some resumes, is not required. Now the most important thing, let me just also go over that what you want to, what you really want to mention. You really want to mention that, when you highlight everything, what you have accomplished, put the things which are eye catchers. So this really helps out. And before you upload your resume online for admission office to look at it, please ensure that it has been reviewed by your family members, your friends, or Syed GSA mentoring team. It is better to know your mistake from your own folks rather than by the admission committee. Now, what you should not put. This is very very bad on the part of a person who is putting or disclosing the resume with wrong information. So in other words, never lie, because it should be the true reflection of what you are and what you have accomplished. However, don't shy off highlighting your accomplishment and so on. But the important main thing is also that you don't want to put your all personal information. And many times in India, people are expected to put all the details about themselves, basically personal details. There is no need to mention your father's name, your mother's name, your gender, what is your date of birth, and your passport number or personal hobbies. If you would like to play cricket, chess, you want to see movies, you want to go hang out with people. So all those things are absolutely not required. And that only takes a space, and sometimes it could negatively affect your chances of getting admission. So those things are not required. I know I have gone with a few things here, but at this point of time, I think I will let Wasikul add something, and then maybe Rajat can put, and then if Ali Muzaffar is here, he could also add additional things. Thank you.
Thank you, Saif Bhai. I would like Wasikul to say, to add something to it. Wasikul?
Yes, so can you share my screen?
Sure. Yep.
Okay. So Saib bhai covered most of the things. So let me start with my brief introduction. I have already put there. I was an alumnus of Aligarh Muslim University, and I was a SSGSA scholar in 2014, and later on I came here and started working for the operational team of SSGSA, and I am also a PhD student at Oklahoma State University, and right now working at Argonne National Lab, USA. So, Rajat, can you go to the next slide? So, Syed actually covered most of the things. Few additional things which I will like to mention that whenever you will, so most of you already know how to write your resume because when you applied for SSGSA application, you already submitted your I think resume, and from the experience of reading those resumes, we have observed many things which we thought we should mention to you. At first, before writing, so our advice is to take some time to do a self-assessment and outline your skills, your work experience, your extracurricular activities, etc. So as Syed mentioned that you don't need to put too many addresses of yours, just use one address, one email ID, avoid nicknames. Many times many people just use their nicknames. So whatever your official name is, use that one. And if you have any personal website, you can also include that. And at the top of the, at the starting of your resume, you can always put your objective, which tells your potential employers that what you are interested in. And for that also you need to be specific that exactly what is your professional goals. So putting objective is actually sometimes seems to be a good way to reflect at the start that exactly what you want to do. So when you add your educational details, so you have to remember that you will list your educational degrees in reverse chronological order. So right now whatever you are doing, you will just put that at first, then the degree which you did just before, you will put that. So in this way you will add them. And also GPA, so GPA or your percentage in your academic degree, that should be added if it is good enough. If you have a very bad percentage of marks, or if you have a very bad GPA, if you add those things in your resume, that may actually may not help you. Okay, so you have to yeah, make sure. I hope that all of you have very good GPA and percentage, but just I thought to mention this to you that if it is unfortunately if it is bad, it is not good to add it. And also sometimes you can add your independent courses. Suppose nowadays you may know about EDX, you may know about Coursera. So there are many websites where you can actually do many independent courseworks. So and nowadays actually people are giving importance to those courses. So we will obviously encourage you people to take those courses in EDX, Coursera, etc. And if those courses are relevant, then you can also add them in your educational details. And sometimes suppose you are sometimes apart from the degrees, you can mention few relevant courses in your resume as well. Suppose you want to do a PhD in nuclear physics, suppose for example. So if you have taken some courses in nuclear physics in your previously, you can mention. So sometimes it is not necessary because in BSc or MSc or BA, MA, you have taken lots of courses. You don't need to mention all of them. If there are some courses which are very much relevant, you can refer them in your resume, in your educational details. Also, you can also mention all your academic honors and work experience. Work experience is very much important because if you have some experience, because we will also encourage our SSGSA scholars to have some experience apart from only studying, because mainly for science students, if you have some lab experiences, if you have some internships, if you have work on some projects with some professors, those things are very much important actually. So we will suggest to encourage you to have those kind of experiences. And when you will add your work experience in the resume, so obviously if you obtained any position, so mention that position, mention that institution, university, and location of work, describe work and your responsibility, what kind of work you did, what kind of skills you actually gained at the time. But don't write too many long paragraphs. Just make it very precise, as short as you can. Okay, and that's important. So if you have you gained those things, so mention them. And also, as I said, that don't put some ordinary skills, the very trivial things which everyone knows, everyone has. So add the specific skills. Suppose if you are interested in PhD or in masters in a certain particular subject, and if you think that if you have some specific skills related to that program, so then add them. And as I said that resume length is sometimes, if it is 1 page, that is best. But but if you sometimes you have some more things, if you have more specific, so don't add to trivial things to it. But if you have more things, you can make it into to 2 pages. So I am saying this because I have seen in many universities, university websites, they have said that we need 2 pages, a resume of 2 pages in many of the universities. It is not bad if you can make it into 1 page, but even if it is of 2 pages, it is okay, but don't make it more than 2 pages. Okay, this is very important. If you make too many, so actually I have seen some people who add so irrelevant things. Suppose they have attended some workshop, or they have attended some meeting. So any workshop, meeting, conference, those things are actually that they will sound more relevant if you have participated in it, if you have presented a poster in it, if you have presented a paper in it. But if you just in Aligarh, actually too many programs actually take place each day, every day. So in Kennedy Auditorium, in different. So many, I have seen some people who attend those things and just add in their resume. That is actually not good. Those things are not doing any good to you. If you have just attended some Muslim leadership program, or suppose some religious program or some. So, and my point is, if you just attend some meetings, and you don't need to add everything in your resume, you will add only those things which are relevant. Also, I have seen that while adding the extracurricular activities, some people add too much extracurricular activities, and his extracurricular activities seems bigger than his original interest, original academic programs. So that also you don't want to do that, because the employer or the selection admission committee, they should have the impression about you that you are motivated. You are motivated for that PhD program, or you are motivated for your master degree. It is good to have some additional extracurricular activities. But if you suppose you got 100 awards in extracurricular activities, and you have only 1 award, one achievement in your academic, and if you add all of them, so yeah, that will give a different impression about you. The people may think that you are not focused in your studies. So just add only those things which are relevant. So that is the main point. And also you can mention your professional affiliations. Suppose you were member of some international research bodies, research collaborations, you may wish to add them as well. And another thing we have also seen in our SSGSA application process, that many many of you have submitted resumes which are full of grammatical mistakes, spelling errors. So it is very much important that before submitting your resume, you should run spell check on your computer. Nowadays you have many apps, or you can just go through it manually many times to make sure that it is free of any kind of grammatical error and spelling error. Okay, so these things are very basic points you need to remember. Rajat, can we go to the next slide? So those things, the previous slide I explained the basic things. Now just I'm adding few additional things. You have to actually, resume plays a very important role in the application process, because yeah, it gives you the information, unique information, unique impression. So obviously you will like to stand out from the crowd. So if you have some interesting and unique information, you should add them in your resume and attempt the best effort to make a very good first impression. Another important aspect is your font size and style. So for the text, you may use Times font style, and some I have seen that many people use different kinds of font styles. So here, and font size should not be more than 11 or 12 point. It is not good to have very larger text, text of larger size, font size, or very lesser font size. So 11 or 12 point is a standard, and if you use Times, that is okay. And suppose don't use the non-standard fonts like Comic Sans, those kind of things. There are lots of font styles available in your Word, so don't use just the different styles. It will make you unprofessional. Another important thing, don't use long paragraphs. I have seen that I have seen some people who are just explaining a big long paragraph which is explaining everything what he did in the project, in his MSc project. You don't need to do that. If you just try to make it as short as you can. If it is within one line, that will be best. And never use personal information unrelated to the job. So actually you should have different resume for different purpose. So if you are applying for a PhD degree or an MS degree, your resume will be different. If you are applying for a position in your general education center at Aligarh, your resume will be different. If you are applying for in a different position, leadership position in your academic hall, in Habib Hall or in any different hall, your resume will be different. So whenever you will be applying for whenever you will applying for university, don't put unnecessary things, unrelated personal information. Yeah, you need to remember that. And yeah, as I mentioned earlier, that don't make it of too many pages. If you can limit within 2 pages, it is good. Don't make it up to 3. And yeah. And sometimes, as I said, that you don't need to put all the ordinary skills. You will only list your unique qualities. And another thing, I have seen that sometimes when you write, suppose you have presented a paper in some conference, some workshop. So when you are writing in short sentence, sometimes you write present a paper on this. No, presented a paper. So this kind of, you need to actually look carefully about your the tense which you are using. And yeah, sometimes in website, if you search in Google resume action words, there are some online list of action words which are very useful for the purpose of writing resumes. So you can look for those words, and you can
Vasikul,
see how you can use them.
I have a list of action words that I was going to present afterwards. Can I show that to people here
Yeah,
if you would like?
yeah, sure, sure.
Yeah, just let me share it with everyone. Okay. Can you see that?
No.
Not yet. Oh, sure. Okay. Just a sec.
By the way, Rajat, I have only one more page. Yeah, yeah, it's okay. Okay.
Now you can see that?
Yes.
Okay. So these are the action verbs that Vasikul is talking about. There is a good list of words on that you can find online. And Vasikul, if you would like to say something.
Yeah, so that's what exactly what I was talking about. That sometimes these words, action words, actually help to make your resume look better. So yeah, you have to give some effort for your resume, and yeah,
I'll just switch back to your slides. Sorry for interrupting.
no problem. It was helpful actually, and also. Uh, I have also seen that many students, they put references when some and even if it is unwanted. So it depends on the university or on the employer whether they are asking for your references or not. So if they ask for references, then it's a good idea to include professional references. For you, it will be professors or your previous employers. So these were the basic points. And can I go to the next slide, Rajat? So here, actually, I have tried to give a very uh, some trivial examples that when you will start writing your resume, you should try to have the best format. So here I have just shown a very snapshot of that how your name, your address, your phone number, email ID. The Saibai in the example which Saibai showed, actually he also showed similar thing. And also at the top of it, you may add your objective, and you can see the in the picture of the right side. I have seen here use section headings. So when you are adding different things, you are highly encouraged to use the different section headings: education, experience, activities, objective, this kind of things. So don't add all this thing without subject. If you don't use your section headings, it will look like a mess. So you don't want to do that. And also when you are listing your skills, I have just put another snapshot. And here, if you are doing you want to do your something in your computer science or some technical job, some technical educational program, so you may list your skills. You may split your skills into different sections, and those things actually, yeah, will look better. So, and another thing, in addition to the points which Zaid mentioned, I will like to add another thing that I have seen that many of you are putting your photos, pictures in your resume. That is actually not required. So, actually, that is I will suggest you not to put your photo in your resume. So, Zaid mentioned actually what are the things you don't need to do for your resume in his don't paragraph, uh, but he didn't mention about photo, and so I just thought to add that one, that you don't need to put your photo in your resume. uh, and can I go to the next slide, Rajat? Yeah, I think, yeah, so I am done. So these were the previous all the things which actually at first I mentioned all of them, and I just added another some additional points to that, and hope these things will be helpful to you. And obviously you are welcome to reach us anytime. This, I just put my personal details, or me, Ali Muzaffar Bhai, and all the other people of our SSGSA executive committee members. Rajat, and anyone who is related to SSGSA, you are always welcome to contact us for any queries. And also before application, when you are always welcome to send your resume to us. And each year we review them, we modify them, and to make it look the best. So that's all for me, and Rajat. And thank you for listening, and all the best.
Great. Those were very great suggestions and tips on resume writing. I don't have much to add to this, so I just prepared a small resume checklist that everybody should refer, and almost pretty much all the points are covered by Sevbhai and Vasikul already. So just make sure that your resume is no longer than 2 page, and as Vasikul mentioned, 1 page is the best. And while I say that, I've also seen many people just they have a lot to mention in their resume, so they put up all the information in their resume and it's all cluttered up. So the feedback that I got from many people was that you need to have some white space also. It doesn't look great on your resume if everything is just words on the resume, like no white space, no proper white space. And it's not visually appealing to people. So you need to also maintain some aesthetic part on your resume, not just mentioning the facts and figures. So definitely you want to have a 1 page resume, but also make sure that your language is crisp and clear and concise, and not much cluttered. So we'll definitely help you with that, but just to mention it. And spelling, grammar, and punctuation errors, you can check it online using some editor. That is for sure. If there is any spelling error, any grammatical error in the resume, that just shows the applicant's carelessness. So we don't want you to have that impression on admission committee. Resume clear, concise, positive impression, presentation skills and accomplishments match the employer requirements. Yeah, that is the important thing that Vasikul mentioned before, that you need to make an impression on the employer, and you don't want to sound something different than the employer or the admission committee requires in an applicant. So you can definitely tailor your resume according to the requirements of the degree for each and every course that you're applying to. It might be possible that you're applying to a graduate course and has some different requirements than a graduate course in some other university with some different requirements. Uh, Resume accurately summarizes your qualifications. So that is for sure, as Saib Bhai mentioned, that never lie on your resume. It should be accurate, and it should be a summary of your qualifications. Uh, I also experienced myself this thing, that I had a very good project and I wanted to mention more and more about that project on my resume, but it's not a good idea to just focus only on a single project. You also need to make sure that you have a good list of projects and experiences that you want to mention, but don't just give an impression that only a single project was very important and rest of the projects are not that important on your resume. Give equal weightage to every experience that you have had, and you will get a chance to explain what you learned from those experiences in your statement of purpose. So resume just summarizes and gives facts about what you did and how you did that, what you learned from that. All those things are to be mentioned in your statement of purpose. So resume is just 1 page, 2 page impression of what you did, and statement of purpose tells you uh, what what experiences you had while doing those things, and what were the challenges, what did you experience, and how did you overcome them. So you don't have to mention all those things in your resume, just mention the facts, what you did exactly. Statements of job accomplishments start with action verbs. So as Vasikul mentioned, action verbs are important, and there are many times that people don't start with action verbs, and they don't look good on the resume. They don't make a good impression as compared to the resume who have started their sentences with action verbs. So if you fall short of action verbs, you are confused what verb you would want to use. Like for me as a computer scientist, I have seen resume, and even while I was building my resume, I always wanted to start the statement with programmed or developed. Like being a software developer, developed is the most common word that I can think of. So you need to have some variety, because if you just put developed in every sentence of every project, it would be somewhat boring and not give much impression. So there are various words that you can refer to while putting it on your resume. They have been categorized based on what kind of impression you want to make and what did you do in your project. So I always refer to this list: technical and research skills. And people as the scholars of SSGSA, you guys are applying for academic degree, so you would definitely want to give more impression on your technical and research skills. Definitely communication, leadership, and other skills are also important, but you just refer to these lists and you will get plenty of words that you can use. Like there is coded. Oh, I didn't think of it. Okay. Yeah, coded, drafted, evaluated, compared, installed, experimented, mastered. All of these are action verbs, and if you have a project that you did some work, just start with the action verb, and it will give an impression that you are a go-getter. You do things rather than just stating the facts. You do things, right? So it's just like you are giving a larger impression with a fewer words on your resume. So that's the thing I wanted to mention. Next thing was, okay, your resume should be organized. As I said earlier, that there should be enough white space, and it should be visually appealing, plus organized in a way, as Vasikul mentioned, that everything should have a heading, so that it comes out what section are we going through in the resume. I would like to mention that I was talking to one of the recruiter at the career fairs in my university, and she told me that it's important for your resume to be organized and give an impression that you have learned something from each and every experience on your resume, so that we know what you learned. It's not like how you learned that, but definitely you want to give some skills, like show some skills that you learned this thing. And it should be easy to read, balanced between content and white space. Yeah. The type font, don't use crazy type font, as Vasikul already mentioned that. Just stick to standard type fonts, and you also need to have those text editing things like bold and italics. So don't use excessive amount of bold and italic fonts, like formatting. Just make sure that the headings are bold, and you can underline them, but it's not required really. And earlier what I did was, I was also bolding or italicizing the words that I thought were important and should be highlighted in my resume, but those are strictly not required, because admission committee would be going through everything on your resume. So you should make an impression by the words, the selection of the words that you want to express your experiences from, not by formatting the specific words or specific things in your resume. So just make sure that your format is very standard on your resume, so that it reflects your professionalism in the resume. The size should, I would recommend between like 11 and 12. Just stick with that. Don't go below 10.5. So people, what they do is, just to make sure that their resume is within one page limit, they decrease the font size. And uh, the person reading the resume is not comfortable with that font size sometimes, and it's not very appealing and impressionable while reading the resume. So definitely make sure that it has a right and I think pretty much all of it is covered on how to write a good resume. If you have any question, you can reach out to any of us. Just write a basic format of your resume and we'll help you out with everything that you need to have it on your resume. Just put in a good amount of thought of what should be there in a resume. My personal approach was just to list out everything that I have done from right from my school until now, and then try to shorten everything so that it accommodates in one page. And I made sure that only relevant details are there in the resume, and not all the things are being are being mentioned in the resume. There might be times that people don't have much things to mention on the resume, so you would at that point of time you can explain any of your project in a detailed form if you have space. If you don't, I won't recommend it. But if you have space, you are falling short of words, like falling short of achievements, you would definitely have more accolades and achievements, I hope. But if there is a situation like that, just explain more about what you learned, what experiences you had, what challenges you had. If you don't have the space, don't do that. So uh, just reach out to us with any questions, and we'll be happy to help. Anything else to add to this, Vasikul Bhai or Sav Bhai?
I think we have covered almost everything, and now we should go to the question and answer session so that they can ask questions and we can answer.
Great. So I'll be opening the question and answering session, and you could just click on the ask question button and you will be added into the queue. Once you are added into the queue, we'll unmute you and you can ask the questions to us. Yeah. If you have any questions, just feel free to ask. We have a few people. Okay. The first question comes from Azman Akhtar. I'm unmuting you. Just ask the question. Yeah, Azman, you are good to go.
Yeah, actually, I have started a course on EDX recently, but I have not registered for the certificate. So it would be better to mention that course without having a certificate, or it would be not considered then.
I would suggest that you mention
Mm.
that course if you have
Right.
good knowledge of what you did on the course. It's not
Okay.
necessary that you have a certificate, because they don't require the certificates as such. They just wanted to know what you learned, what you experienced, and what you did. So if you have a good amount of knowledge from that course, I would definitely recommend to put it up on your resume. So that one of the best part about applying to academic schools is that you don't have to justify anything on your resume, even if you
Mhm.
put it on your resume. So it would be better if you mention that on your resume, and if you have a good amount of knowledge, also mention it in your statement of purpose. But I would recommend that you put it on even if you don't have any certificate or you haven't applied for the certificate.
All right. Then it would be better to mention that. Good. Thanks a lot.
All right.
That's
Okay, I just uh, I didn't know Seb bhai and Vasikul bhai were muted. I'll just unmute them and then take the next question.
Yeah. Can I add something, Rajat? What to your answer?
Sure, definitely, Seb bhai. I didn't know you were muted, so I thought that nobody's taking the answer, so I took it. I
No,
definitely,
that is fine.
yeah.
You perfectly answered very well. I just want to add here that if uh, if you can get the certificate, it's always like, I mean, good idea to have a document in the long run, maybe several years from now. I mean, if there is a need, then you can get that certificate. But as Rajat said, that you don't need to have it to write on a resume, but it's good to just keep it in your record. If you can get the certificate, if I mean, there's not much hurdle, it will be nice to have it for your own record. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, I forgot that. Thank you, Seb bhai. Okay, our next person to ask question is Sachin Gupta. Yeah, Sachin, go ahead.
Am I audible?
Yes.
So, is it necessary to mention the declaration statement on the resume, or as well as to mention the signature?
Can you be
Hello.
more clear about the declaration and the
Yeah.
signature that you're talking about?
So, the declaration statement is like that. I would give the declaration that all the above information is correct. The statement like this is is necessary to mention on the resume or not?
I mean, in my view, that is not a requirement, or it is not needed that the above statement is the best and the best of my knowledge and people sign it. If that you're asking, then that just takes up the space and it's not required here when you are applying for the admission in a graduate school or even applying for a job.
I have one more question. Can I ask it?
Yeah, definitely.
So, what should be the minimum GPA about Vasikul Bhai was talking about to mention on the resume?
Vasiko, you can answer that question.
Vasikul, we can't hear you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah. So if your GPA is more than 3, then mention it. If it is less than 3, don't mention it.
Okay,
No,
I would add to that because most of the GPAs in India are on scale of 10. So I think I think
Yeah,
you
what I mentioned on the scale of 4.
4.
On
Yeah.
the scale of 4, if your GPA is less than 3, then don't.
Right.
Yeah, not.
Either you convert it using some standard guide on a scale of 4, or I would suggest that if you think it is a good GPA among your batchmates, like if it might be possible that a 8.5 GPA is not good in AMU, but it's good for an IITN, like, or for a college that is stricter in giving marks or giving grades. So I would I would say that it's your best judgment whether you consider it good enough to mention it on your resume. And if you can convert that on a 4.0 scale, then the good GPA to mention it on your resume is considered 3 or above as US standard. So definitely try to see what universities you're applying to. If you're applying to some other country college, then see what is their standard. Do we need to mention? There are some universities who require you to mention the GPA regardless of how good it is. So see the requirements and then see whether I need to mention my GPA or not. Did that answer your question, Sachin?
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Rajat bhai.
Do you have
Thank
any
you.
other
Thank you,
question?
Mr. No, thank you.
All right then. Another question comes from Muhammad Ali Khan. Go ahead, Muhammad.
Can you hear me? Assalamu alaikum. Hello.
Yeah, we can hear you, Muhammad.
Okay. My question is actually I have a science background. I have completed my MSc in industrial chemistry, and now I have a plan to apply for management program. So should and I have means project and work experience like internship in my previous course of study. So should I highlight more on my leadership and management skills, or I should mention my projects and all?
I can take that question if Rajat and Vasik, you're okay. Yeah, in my view, that it's a good question. Having gone through something similar myself, I mean, I would definitely say that the leadership, the management, and the courses that you have taken, because now you're not proving that you want to be a good scientist, but you are like trying to prove that you're going to be a good business leader if you are applying for a management or an MBA program. So that will be good to highlight those things in your resume uh, clearly, and that will be helping you rather than putting what in specific courses that you took in chemistry, uh, organic chemistry or other in chemistry courses. So you just have to balance it and make sure that you do highlight your managerial or leadership skills.
Okay, thank you so much. I have one more question. Can I ask?
Go ahead.
Okay. Uh, uh, means since I'll be taking I'm planning to take GMAT in the month of October or November. So should I take any course in the meantime in management or something that can add to my resume?
What I would suggest in this one that you can take the courses, but if you spend more time in doing a coaching and making sure that you score high on the GMAT, because it's really critical that you need to do very well in the GMAT, and at least if you get a score of over 650, that will help you to get admission in a reasonable school. So if you take just a management course just to put on your resume, that may not add so much value. But if you take that time and prepare more effectively for your GMAT test, might be better.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other question, Muhammad?
No.
All right. Thanks so much. We have next question from Vibhu Ashton. Yeah, go ahead, Vibhu. Vibhu, can you hear us?
Yeah, Vibhu is not seen as he has been not unmuted, I believe.
Okay, he's out of the queue. He's out of the call as well. Okay, do we have any other questions? The Q&A queue is empty right now. We are waiting for anybody to ask questions. Just click on ask question button and you'll be added into the Q&A queue and we'll take your questions.
So Sachin asked few questions in the message box, which I replied. So I think I can just say it here so that everyone can listen to that. So Sachin asked that what are the websites other than EDX to pursue independent courses? So another very good website is Coursera, coursera.org. So you can look at it. And Sachin also asked another question, that what should be the sequence of headings in the resume and what should be the size of headings. So the sequence, so we have already mentioned, three of us, myself, Syed Bhai and Rajat, that so we have shown you example that at first you can add your objective and then you all the subheadings of your education. We have seen it in the resume of Rajat as well. You can follow that sequence, and the size of heading should be very short. You don't want to make it a full sentence as a heading. You want to very few words, 2-3 words, just that I think. So if Rajat and Syed Bhai want to add anything.
No, I think that covers. Yeah.
I would like to add something. If you are referring to the size as the font size, then I would recommend that you have the text as 11 or 10.5 and the heading as 12. That is 1 point above than the text, and bold it so that it is clearly visible. Yeah. I was thinking of size as the font size while you were asking the question, so I just wanted to mention that if he referred to the font size or the size of the heading. And the sequence of the headings are pretty much standards, as we all mentioned. So yeah.
So if there are no further questions, we can probably close out the call. And I want to thank everyone who had joined the call, and I appreciate that Wasikul and Rajat. I mean, you guys went in very detailed way to explain each and every step that on writing the. Oh, okay, it's already ended. So.
Yep. I ended the Q&A session because there was.
Oh, okay.
To ask questions.
Oh, okay. And then, like Wasikul and Rajat had mentioned on this call, that this is not. I mean, this is just a preliminary information that we wanted to give everyone, so that the first draft of your resume looks good, and it avoids, a lot more editing from the SSGSA team. So please feel free to put together, and definitely you should try to put together your resume now, because everything is fresh in your mind if you are even applying next year, and you can keep on adding information as and when it is needed. But when things are fresh in mind, it always helps. So that's all from my side.
Wasikul, do you want to add something to it?
No, not that much. Yeah, it was a very good session, I think, and thank you, Syed Bhai, and also thank Rajat for giving presentations and adding many points, answering questions, and also to the SSGSA scholars and also those who are not scholars but attending this meeting, this webinar. we will say that just reach out to us for anything. And yeah, so if you, as I said, this is just a draft. After that, when you will send your resume to us, we will modify it and we will make it.
Great. So I would just like to mention some takeaways from this session. Just make sure your resume is concise, crisp, and clear. Everything is standard as per the guidelines. And this is just make sure your first draft has those standard guidelines followed, and put in a lot of thought of what you're going to put on your resume. What are the essential things that you want to mention while you're applying to a college, and just list it out on some piece of paper and type it in and see how it should look on your resume, how it should be mentioned, what should be the words. The selection of words are also important. We'll definitely help you out after you draft your first resume and make it improve for better. You should also consider that everyone here at SSGSA is volunteering their time out of their schedule. So just be humble, just be polite with your requests and your emails. But we are always happy to help you out. And I would like to thank Saif Bhai and Wasikul Bhai for their time, for their great suggestions and tips to everyone. And it was a great session. Thank you all for attending.
Ali Muzaffar Bhai has just joined, so if he wants to say anything.
Oh, great. I didn't see that. Thank you for noticing, Wasikul. I think I'm not the moderator now. Okay. Ali Bhai, can you hear us? If you can you say some words? I have unmuted you.
Okay. It's okay if he.
Is he connected with his mic? I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay, then if he cannot hear, then just go ahead and end this call.
Great. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming to this session. Yeah, Saif, you were saying something?
Yeah, no, I was just saying that, I guess wanted to thank everyone, and as I also have to leave somewhere for another meeting.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can totally understand that we are all always out of time. And we always like to chat a lot. So thank you, Saif Bhai. You can, we are just leaving. I'll just end up the recording, and it was a great session. You can view the recording after I've put it up. It's been uploaded, and I'll just share the link with everyone. And